Well, today I'm with my friend Jason Raede. He's the co-founder and CEO of Pliable.co. And Pliable structures and connects your data so everything runs on the same trusted foundation and it helps companies become AI ready. So good to have you today, Jason.
Great to be here.
So let's start out with the problem that you guys are solving.
Yeah. Yeah, the problem is it's the same problem I was solving when I was running a data consulting shop, charging hundreds of thousands of dollars to solve, and now we kind of package all that up into a software platform and charging far less for that. But the problem in a nutshell is decision makers, CEOs, operators, mostly non-technical folks, they just don't have access to the data they need to run their business. Now, with AI seemingly able to, do a lot of things, replace employees, and especially do analytics and reports and dashboards, there's still like a huge investment for companies to take the data wherever it is, package it up in a way that AIs and agents and all sorts of stuff can actually use in order to do their jobs with accuracy as a necessity, right? You're not going to want an AI agent to make a decision based on some hallucination it made. Um, and normally companies would have to hire data engineers to build data pipelines and write a ton of code, and it's a huge investment. 97% of companies in the United States can't afford that because it costs more than $500,000 a year. So we essentially packaged up all that expertise and what we used to do as consulting, but now it's a software platform that you can get up and running in 3 days, and it's the equivalent of a 6 month data engineering project. And you're chatting with your data, so that's what everybody wants.
I heard you say somewhere that it's AI is not the problem, it's the problem with the data, right?
Yeah, I mean AIs are good. Everybody obviously understands the limitations of AI, and they're used to it hallucinating. And but we've shown that that interaction with the Chat GPT is kind of what people want to be able to do, and it's really powerful when used correctly. The problem is if you're relying on it to do anything remotely sophisticated, it's going to need information about what your company is. It's going to need information, from your CRM and your ERP and your product database and anything that might be relevant to the job that it's doing. Um, and people have solved that more or less with prompt engineering, right? But if you think about scaling AI solutions across a company, you're not going to rely on some mid-level salesperson to know specifically which information across your entire company's knowledge base might be relevant to the thing it's asking the AI that he's asking the AI to do. So automating the context and the guardrails in order to provide accurate information to the AIs and reduce the possibility of hallucination is kind of the path to victory here for using AIs, at least in the way that they're currently structured.
I heard you talk a lot about the need for a semantic layer. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, semantic layer, it's basically like, what do you call things? How do you calculate your metrics in your business? And it forces you to agree. The parable is marketing has one definition for revenue, and sales has a different definition for revenue, and ops has a different definition, and finance hates them all, right? But the CEO, in order to make data-driven decisions, you need to agree on what revenue means. So what a semantic layer does, whether that's in a technology platform like ours or just in people's heads or in a document, it specifically defines what is revenue, what is churn, what is a customer, right? Do we count revenue on the day that the order was placed or the day the order was shipped, and how do we factor in discounts to that? And if it's a subscription model, do we count it all on the day that the purchase was made, or do we spread it out across 12 months? Those are all really important and unique things about each individual business that need to be captured somewhere so that an AI, or frankly a human, can come in and do things efficiently and accurately and effectively.
No, I no, I saw it that you really enable companies to get by with fewer or no data engineers. So how do you guys do that?
Yeah, so like I said, we kind of packaged up the expertise we developed by doing this with data engineers. But now we can do it without data engineers. So there's still a human component. Anyone who tries to sell you like a full blown AI solution without humans in the mix is wrong. Um, and but what we've done is we've built technology around the very difficult process of defining effectively your semantic layer. What are you trying to measure? What are you trying to accomplish with your data? Let's codify that in a platform instead of somebody's head or in a document. And then let's make it very easy for humans, guided by your unique needs at your business. And people during onboarding tell us like, oh, I want to count a discount, but only if it's longer than 12 months. If it's less than 12 months, it's temporary, and I don't want to subtract that from MRR, right? That's like a thing that people say. we make it very easy to capture that together collaboratively in our platform and then trace that all the way back to, okay, where does discount data come from? Where does your revenue data come from? Where does your customer data come from? So we not only connect to all of your data sources. If you go and Google any BI tool, you're going to see that graphic of like Salesforce, HubSpot, all the things connected to a single source of truth. That's not the hard part. That's a commodity. The hard part is once you have all that raw data somewhere, how do you make it look like the way it needs to look in order to measure and optimize your business? And that's unique. And that's unique to each business, right? So we built technology, AI assisted, but human driven in order to do that. We've gotten the onboarding time for our customers down from normally it would take, a couple of weeks to go and, and do discovery and understand what the data model should be. And a month or two to actually build the data pipeline. And then you get to the point where you have your dashboard. We can do that in 3 days. So that's kind of the big innovation, and it all costs less than one data engineer would over the course of the year. So now companies don't have to kick the can down the road on analytics, so to speak, because now there's not that friction that there used to be.
Talk about deterministic outcomes, and that's a good strategy to have the AI be more accurate. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so deterministic and non-deterministic are terms, from statistics and data science and stuff. But basically what that means is deterministic is something where you ask a question or you have it do something and it does the same thing reliably every time. So deterministic data-related function would be, give me the zip code of a city given the state and the city name. Non-deterministic would be, give me the zip code just given the city name, because if I say Paris, it might give me the zip code of Paris, Texas, or Paris, France, right? So that's obviously a trivial example. But AIs and LLMs by nature are non-deterministic. You ask the same question, even to the same model, 10 minutes later, it'll give you a slightly different answer, right? Right? So that's by design. But the trick is, if you're relying on LLMs and AIs in general to do things that require some semblance of accuracy, without necessarily a human reviewing them every step of the way, you have to actually use less AI, meaning let the AI call out to things that do jobs deterministically, like get me a list of customers. And that needs to know how you define a customer. But now the AI can reliably go and deterministically get a list of customers. You don't have to worry about that being wrong or making up your list of customers, right? So you can rely on the LLM to take what you're asking it to do, the prompt, and then figure out how to go and contact your CRM for this information and use that to send an email. The less thinking you're relying on the LLM to do, the more accurate it's going to be. At least for now, right? All these companies are building more thinking models and reasoning, but it's not reasoning; it's pattern recognition. They're just really good at sounding like humans would sound if you were to ask them that same question, which is a downfall in a lot of AI attempts at enterprises. But if you understand that, and you have the technology and the people and the wherewithal to go and kind of use it in the right way, then you can really unlock a ton of value.
So, is thinking of an ideal prospect, what's your ideal target market? Who can benefit the most from your solution?
Yeah, our target market is most definitely the what we'd call the overwhelmed CEO. So this is a CEO of a company doing anywhere between like $4 and $50 million in revenue, sometimes more. We do have larger companies, but they really want to just see what the heck is going on, and they're tired of logging into point solutions like their CRM to see revenue and QuickBooks to see when the revenue hit the books, and then like there's by the time you're done, the average company has like 50 different tools that they use to run their business. And in order to just get the answers to basic questions, the CEO has to log into each one of them just to get the answer. It's a fool's errand, right? And these are people who understand the cost and complexity of trying to solve this the traditional way with data engineers building stuff, because there's really no other solution. You can't just buy a BI tool and it like all of a sudden solves it for you. You have to do the work to get the data in the right way into the BI tool and have data engineers monitoring it throughout the process. So these people who are like data hungry, they need to measure and optimize their business. They have a lot of pressure on them to do it, whether that's from customers or their board or investors or whatever that might be. And they don't want to go and spend $1 million and wait 6 months to go and solve this problem. They need this yesterday. So those are our favorite people to work with. We generally start small with their like most acute pain. Like I have no visibility into X. We get them that visibility, and then they realize how easy it is to go and get visibility into everything in their business. Say, hey, can we connect our ad platforms? Can we connect our finance system? Can we connect our ERP? And the answer is always yes. And a few weeks later, they have like full visibility into everything, which was like, they call it, it's almost too good to be true, which we hear that a lot in sales calls.
So, talking about the overwhelmed CEO, where does your analyst Ellie come in?
Yeah, so Ellie is our AI analyst. She sits on top of the semantic layer. So Ellie's aware of only the things that you make her aware of. She's not going to go and accidentally pull private data that you don't want to expose. She's not going to do any of that stuff. She uses the definitions that your company uses. What is a customer? What is churn? What is revenue? And she knows how to, given a question that you ask, how much money did we make on Amazon last year? She can go and get you that information. And she also knows how to dynamically create drill down data sets effectively given your follow-up question. So you can say, break that down by product category. And despite the data engineer not having gone and created an aggregate data set for you of revenue on Amazon broken down by product category, Ellie, our AI, is able to go and do that. So it facilitates this natural kind of conversation approach where like executives, they're not going to have one question and get the answer and be like, oh, okay, I'm done, right? They're going to be like, that's interesting. Let me drill in and like understand why this is happening or why it's not happening over here. And that might take 5 or 6 or 10 or 20 back and forth with whatever is getting you that information. Think about, even if you did have an analyst, you have a question, send it over the fence, get it back maybe an hour or two or a few days later. So the time it takes you to make a strategic decision is like 7 days or even 7 hours. Sometimes that's too long. With Ellie sitting next to you on the computer, you can ask the question and instantly, drill down into everything that's in your data model and available. And obviously, like it's LLMs, but we built it in a way where it's like bowling with bumpers. It's protected. You don't have to necessarily worry about calculating revenue in the wrong way because Ellie's very clear on how revenue is calculated at your business. So you can safely ask those questions and safely drill down. And we recently actually added a feature called, tentatively, context, but it's basically, hey, Black Friday was such and such day, or we had the shelf fell over at our warehouse. That might impact our sales or inventory numbers. So you can actually give business context to Ellie that'll help her analyze the data on your behalf, or at least provide you with that information. So like, hey, your revenue's down on such and such day, but it's because this other thing happened. So it gives you really the full picture. And there are tools that you could get to that state, but they require data engineers writing code and writing YAML and configuration and kind of layering a bunch of different tools together just to get to that experience. We offer Ellie, like I said, 3 days of implementation and you're off and running.
Nice. You mentioned like an amazing outcome and some of the things that your clients say. So is there any client example that's on the top of your mind that was an amazing outcome?
I mean, yeah, we had a company come on. They were a private equity roll-up of 3 different SaaS companies. So you can imagine the mess the CEO was in trying to like figure out like what the heck is selling. Are they losing customers? Are they gaining customers? And she said, like, I tried a bunch of different data tools and none of them worked because my business is unique and I need to think about it in a specific way. And like no cookie cutter solution is going to get that from me. So she was frankly astonished that within a few days we were able to show her, here's how much money you're making from each one of your different products and each one of your different companies. Here's your churn. Here's your customer retention rate and all these things. And it was almost like a shock, which I love to see. Like, holy crap, this looks right. Let's dig in, ask a few questions for sanity checks. But then my favorite part of onboarding customers is when they realize, oh, that was way easier than I thought. And we say, yeah, that's what our value prop is. And they're like, oh, can we also calculate our return on ad spend? Or can we also calculate our performance to plan? Or can we also bring in our inventory data? And I'm like, yeah, it's always yeah, right? Like, I don't want to stop you from getting insights about your business. So just to see, like, it's not even like excitement, it's like relief. Like, oh, I needed this, thank God, right? Now I can actually see what's going on. And like, even if no matter whether the company's failing or succeeding crazily, like just having that visibility for an operator or a CEO or someone making the strategic decisions about the business, it's invaluable. You can't improve something that you're not measuring. Otherwise, you're just doing this, and who knows what's going on.
Well, congratulations on an amazing solution. How would you like people to engage with you and learn more?
Yeah, so if you want to learn more, you head to our website, pliable.co. There's a book a meeting, which will go to me or my head of sales, Pat Kea. He's a great guy. And then you'll probably talk to me eventually. But that's the best way to get in touch. You can also reach out on LinkedIn or shoot me an email, jason@pliable.co, and I'm happy to help point you in the right direction. I'm a consultant and problem solver at heart. So even if it's not our solution, I'm happy to help you figure out the right solution to solve your AI or data needs.
Jason, this has has been great. So I look forward to watching the exciting growth of your company and being in touch.
Yeah, right on. Thanks for having me.
All right.